Okay, so my first question is, what's the big deal with, the terminology of soccer and football? I've
Okay.
talked to a lot of people, and it's parang they're kind of insulted sometimes when I say soccer. You know
Yeah.
what I
No.
mean?
Yeah, dude. It's insulting. Sorry to curse. You can bleep that too.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Sports Season podcast, where we get to know the sports that you know about and those that you should know about. I'm Javi Sison, a former varsity basketball player, UAAP table tennis player, and lifelong sports fan. In this episode, we'll be kicking off the season with arguably the world's most popular sport. Football is played in more than 200 countries with over 250 million players worldwide, with its popularity only increasing over the years, especially here in the Philippines. Joining me today to talk about football is a four-time best striker, two-time MVP, and two-time champion in the UAAP, currently a member of the Philippine Azkals development team, my former classmate and a great friend, none other than Jarvey Gayoso. Harv, thanks
Thanks,
for joining
bro.
us.
Yo, thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
We've been in quarantine for the past few months. What have you been up to?
So yeah, this quarantine it took a big toll on everybody, and so personally, I found this as an opportunity to spend time with my family because I'm from Laguna. So when we had classes or when we had training sessions when I was with Ateneo, I'd be based in LGV and in Katipunan, and you know that we were neighbors then.
Yeah.
So I'd rarely see my family, and given the situation with all the time that we have now, I made sure that I based myself here in Laguna, and so I've been spending time with my family, but at the same time, I've been with the Azkals development team. I've been in contact with them about getting myself prepared for not only opportunities to play abroad, but also to get back into shape and making sure that I'm keeping myself fit for when the league resumes and when we start training again, so that I don't lose track of my path pre-COVID.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, I've seen your Instagram stories and stuff, but can you share like how you've been keeping in shape? I know you have like a coach with it. Is there like a team
Yeah.
workout thing also?
Actually, I'm very good friends with the gym trainer of the Ateneo men's football team, and he was kind enough to include me in his make me as one of his clients to keep me fit, so he's been giving me workout routines that I do so that I can keep track of my progress in terms of my physique. And then because my dad's also an athlete, so we actually use this time also to do drills together, like because he also coaches athletes, so he kind of just used this time to coach me instead of coaching other people. So we have a lot of footwork drills that we do every morning, or like sometimes even in the afternoon, and sometimes we even find time to go to isolated football fields so that we can practice on
That's cool.
playing in the pitch. But the problem is now that because Laguna is back to MECQ, that we had to stop
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, dude.
Okay. So we know that the quarantine, the whole pandemic is not just here in the Philippines. We've seen it all over the world.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot of sports leagues resume. So like the NBA with the bubble. I know some European leagues have resumed without fans.
Yeah.
Do you see that maybe happening here in the Philippines, like with the local football leagues? What do you think about that?
You're gonna make me talk political, bro.
No, I mean, like, do you think it would work?
Honestly, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work at all, because if we're gonna try to adapt what they did in the US, for example, the bubble, which is I think the closest thing that we're trying to do now for football here in the country. We have this PFF center in Carmona that is being looked at as the bubble of
Okay.
the PFL, and they were planning to do that there, but um, after this MECQ announcement again,
Yeah.
because we were supposed to resume mid-August, I think, and after
Okay.
the announcement of MECQ, everything was pushed back again. So um, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen only because it's so like the organization is rattled by everything.
Yeah.
Um, they're not IAFF, I think, is the organization that will give the go signal if we
Mm-hmm.
can start training, but they'll only allow it if we have um like, for example, the first one is everybody gets swab tested, and
Yeah.
uh, they've actually allotted time slots for each team in the PFL to attend their swab testing in the PFF office. What happened was,
Okay.
not everybody from all the teams and all the staff members in the league, participating in the league, were able to get swab tested. So we were not able to get the go signal yet, because it has to be, everybody has to be tested, and there has to be everybody has
Mm-hmm.
to be negative, of course. So
Of
everybody
course.
has to be tested, and no, they weren't able to complete it. Not everybody was able to get tested, so they couldn't start it. And um, when when they were supposed to assign us again for our slot, what happened was, they announced again this MECQ, so it got pushed
Mm.
back way further, to the point that we're actually not even sure if we're gonna start this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah. That's crazy. Okay.
The crazy part is, like, as an athlete, I'm giving myself a timeline to prepare for
Yeah.
when we resume. But now that there's no definite date, like if everything's super like sporadic with what their timeline is, it's just hard for me to continue giving myself purpose to what I'm doing, especially if I know
Yeah.
that it's going to be pushed back all the way to like next year or something like that.
Gets. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're gonna get into. I actually wanted to ask about the PFL, how you're involved with it, considering the
Yeah,
Azkals development team. But yeah, we'll
yeah,
get into that a little later.
yeah.
So we'll get into your career towards the end of the interview. I just want to ask first, I guess, as I'm not a football player. I wanted to ask some random questions that I've always been wondering about
Yeah,
football.
dude. Hey, dude,
Um,
ask me anything, bro.
yeah, and then we'll also get into how you got into the sport. For the listeners who are thinking about trying it out, and of course your
Yeah,
thoughts on the future of football here in the country, considering
yeah.
you're part of the Azkals. Okay, so my first question is, what's the big deal with the terminology of soccer and football? I've
Okay.
talked to a lot of people, and it's parang they're kind of insulted sometimes when I say soccer. You know
Yeah,
what I
no.
mean?
Yeah, dude, it's insulting. Sorry to curse. You can bleep that. Fuck yeah, dude.
Okay.
It is insulting. Honestly, the reason why it is insulting is because um before thinking about just football and soccer in general, it comes from a certain area wherein the USA feels like in their own culture that they're the dominant race.
Okay.
We've studied about that, how the US think that they're actually the dominant race, right? And I think that's where it stems from. How people get so insulted, especially Europeans, not really Americans, but more Europeans. Maybe some
Yeah.
football players here who are cultured, but mostly Europeans who get very insulted is because football to the States is American football. It's not, when you say
Yeah.
football, it's American football. It's touch, throw, touchdown, and all that stuff. So when they try to assume that, especially when they speak to other people like who are in Europe, because American football is major in the US, they say,
Mm.
they call our football soccer, and that's what they kind of try to push around, like especially in this area.
Yeah.
Or like if you meet a lot of American films in Ateneo, they call football
Yeah.
soccer, right? Like I have a teammate AJ, he calls it soccer. Well, sometimes he calls it football, but he refers to it as soccer, and we let it be. I let it be. It's fine. It's his choice. But like the whole idea that um that football is called is football is referred to as um American football by Americans,
Mm.
and them trying to make that the stereo. I'm not stereo, but make that the norm, that it's
The
being
norm.
called
Okay.
like Europe. That's why sometimes they also call it European football and American football. This is two different
Okay.
things. Yeah, but because football is the number one sport in the world, um, it should still be referred to as football, and then American football just be
Okay.
American football, or
Gets.
hand touchdown ball game, whatever
Yeah.
they want to call that. All I'm saying is it's really, if you research about soccer, the term soccer and football, soccer is really just a term used in America.
America.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, that's why they're the ones who call it Major League Soccer, like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
And like
Yeah. Go.
MLS, yeah, well, Major League Soccer. So basically, any team, like it's not FC, it's FS, football school, or
Yeah.
soccer school. Sorry, soccer school or soccer club or whatever, soccer team or whatever. I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay. That's cool. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
dude.
So like you mentioned, football is the most popular sport in the world. I think you could. It's even arguably, like, for me. I'm not a competitive football player, but it's gotten to even like the video game world. With FIFA and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
Like non-football players, I love playing FIFA.
dude.
I don't know if we've played yet, but I'm sorry if we have.
No,
My
we
bad if
probably haven't.
I.
We probably have in Rocco's house,
Yeah. Yeah.
or with sila Quijano and Luigi's place. I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe probably have, bro. I suck at
Okay.
FIFA. Honestly, I really suck at FIFA.
Okay, so but with that, I don't know if you know about, like, in the NBA, they have the 2K league. So it's actually like they're professionals. They get paid to play 2K against each other, and then, like,
Yeah.
the NBA teams have their own 2K team, something like that.
Really?
Do you think that Do you think that that would work with FIFA? Like, if there was like a FIFA pro league, FIFA video game league.
In this
What
country,
do you think?
or
I guess just in general, because I mean, there's no, like, NBA league here yet. I think there have been tournaments, of course, but
yeah,
like, do you think it'll work?
I think so. Yeah, actually, um, I think it with the um, what's that feature in every FIFA game?
Like the
The
online. I think.
Yeah, when you draw cards. Because I don't think
Oh yeah,
2K
yeah.
has that.
I think there's something like that. I think like my team or something like that.
My ultimate team or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
yeah,
They have tournaments for that. They
yeah,
actually have
yeah, yeah.
tournaments for that. Like they have international. If you search on YouTube, they have professional players who actually do ultimate team. So I think
Yeah.
if it revolves, especially because people are so serious about paying for like the golden tier cards
Yeah.
and having all those like hybrid players and high ranking players play, then I think it's easy for them to come up with like a structure for, especially because football is like a big sport.
It
And
is.
when you're talking about FIFA, like I know a lot of basketball players who even play FIFA.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of football players that play 2K.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. Okay, those are my random trivia questions. Okay, so let's get into you and get into, like, how, I guess, to start with, what when did you start playing football, and what made you get into it?
Dude, my the number of years, um, like I started. I've already accumulated 18 years of footballing experience.
Wow.
Yeah, I just turned legal in terms of my football. So yeah, I started at the age of 4, and
Okay.
it was with Juventud. That's my first club in Ridgefield. Ridgefield. It's a kindergarten, but Southridge, and then like they're connected
Like,
with a
they're
kindergarten.
okay.
Yeah.
That makes
So
sense. Yeah.
I was playing. There was an orientation in my kindergarten about football, and I got the brochure and gave it to my mom, and I told her I want to try this sport. And mom was the one who um,
Okay.
put me in the club. It was Juventud, and then when I started playing, I was in kindergarten, and then they moved me up to play with the grade 1 and grade 2 students. So um, I was like the only kindergarten playing with grade schoolers, and then we were just training together, and we had tournaments together. My first one, I think, was in Alaska Cup in Alabang Country Club. So that was my first experience. And after that, I started transferring to other clubs like Football Fanatics. I started meeting other people, a lot of coaches who saw potential and wanted me to join. And then Football Fanatics was actually where I kind of grew as an athlete. They were the ones who took me in for the most part of my developmental stage, and there was even a point wherein we couldn't afford to pay for the training sessions anymore, because especially before, it was really pay to train, so there will always be fees. And then that's when Football Fanatics kind of began their scholarship program. So I was kind of like the pioneer scholarship program, part of the pioneer scholarship programs, athletes that they had there. And so I didn't stop. They allowed me to continue training with them and allowed me to continue playing with the team. And then that's when I branched out to other clubs. And then when I was in grade school, when I was around grade 2, we moved to Laguna, and I started playing varsity football in Don Bosco. At that time, I was grade 3, and they kind of had a rule before in Don Bosco wherein you can only be varsity to represent the school in competitions if you're grade 4, 5, and 6. If you're younger than that, they wouldn't allow you to compete. Okay. But I was in grade 3 and I was already playing, and then they allowed me. I was the first grade 3 student that was allowed to play for the grade school team of Don Bosco, and so we competed in tournaments. And then that's when they found that I was actually able to compete also with these older grade school students. That's when they kind of opened up the opportunity for all the other younger grade schoolers to start training also. So that's where they kind of developed the program as well. And then
cool.
And then connections with my dad, that's when they kind of got me to go to Ateneo. And then I was actually a batch ahead of you. I was batchmates with Driggs Saldivar. So they were my first classmates. And I really, how do you say this? I failed my first semester, my first year in Ateneo. The transition was very hard for me. And then, so that was the 2 years that I had to stop playing football. And when I focused on basketball, playing during lunchtime with you guys, or playing the sports fest and all that stuff. So, that was my 2 years that I actually had to stop for a while. But Coach Ompong was the one who allowed me to train with the team every Thursday. Yeah, because every Thursday, the aspirants team. So it's like a 2 tiers lower in the hierarchy of football teams in Ateneo High School. For those who don't know, so it's UAAP, Aspirants A, Aspirants B. I was training with the Aspirants B in my first year and first year. When I was under probation, he allowed me to train every Thursday, because every Thursday was just an 11-a-side simulation game. So that's when I had my football training. And every other time that I was free, every other day of the week, I'd either be playing basketball in the courts during lunchtime, sports fest, intrams, or we'd be playing in LGB together sa courts after school, diba? So that was kind of like the biggest pause that I had for football. And then after that, once I got my rhythm, once I was able to adjust to the Ateneo academic system and all that stuff, second year till last year, last season 81, I've been playing for the Ateneo.
Okay. No. So you're talking about, like, how you got into basketball, and like I don't know if you would agree. I mean, but I think you would. I've seen your past interviews and other podcasts, and like, I think we can agree that basketball is the biggest sport in the country.
Definitely, bro.
Definitely. I mean, I think you talked about how, those get barangay leagues, but football doesn't.
Yeah.
Actually, if you on every corner, you can see a basketball court here. Definitely. So I guess I wanted to ask, with it growing up, I grew up with basketball. It's like I got it's something that I definitely tried out. What made football, I guess, beat out basketball, or what made you choose football over basketball, considering it was the sport, I guess?
Yeah, I think if there's anything, I initially started with a big opportunity to play basketball, especially because Dad was already a basketball player and all that stuff. And what I've explained to a lot of my interviews is that football was never really a distant option for me also, because I had my grandparents from both my father and mother's side who played football. I still have two uncles who represented the country in the futsal national team and the football national team also. So that really wasn't a distant opportunity, or that wasn't really a distant option for me. And as a kid, you'd always just want to go go with the flow, wherever your friends are and all that stuff. And I had a lot of opportunities. I even went with my dad to some of his clinics to like help teach the kids also in basketball. And I joined a lot of basketball leagues when I was a kid. Even until grade school, I was joining basketball leagues too. But it was just never really something that I naturally enjoyed. I did enjoy the game, but it wasn't it wasn't the natural adrenaline that I wanted to look for, that I look forward to also. Football is such a different sport in such a way that there's a lot of mental, there's a lot of things that are happening in the game. You can't really say, well, I mean, there are a lot of athletes who even say like the physical aspect of football is just like a small percentage of the game. There's so much more to it than just the whole physical aspect of football. I don't know. It's just really something that I had the natural passion for. I never really had to develop anything. I never really had to force myself to love anything. And I think what differentiates or what puts football aside is that even through the hardships, that it's still something I love. Like especially now that I don't even get to experience it. I miss it so much compared to like even the years that I were in like in basketball. There are a lot of times wherein after playing a few days consecutively, I stop, and it's not something I look for. Compared to football, like I can even have like just the road outside of the house, and when I play, I get so excited. I'm actually already thinking about what to do later, because I was supposed to work out at around 4, and I actually forgot that it's a Friday today. So I was like, oh my god, it's a Friday pala today. But yeah, so I always look forward to having the ball in my feet, and that's just really something that I always found in myself. I never really had to develop anything. I never really had to force myself to love it.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, and I'm not sure if it's like rare, but how you mentioned earlier, because a lot of the sports stories that people start out with their sport is like their parents bring them to a clinic and then they learn to love it, or like they.
Yeah.
But you were saying that you were the one who asked for it.
I did, yeah,
right?
Yeah. My kindergarten experience, I actually remember the time of day and where exactly that my mom was situated in her house. I remember we were being instructed. They were teaching us about the cones, the different kinds of cones in football, and that's the biggest memory that I have of that orientation. But the next memory that I have when I was 4 was holding the pamphlet, holding the brochure, and I went up to my mom in the second floor where she was teaching. She used to tutor kids, and I told her to come out of the room, and I was like, Mom, I wanna enroll in this, and that's when she put me in, and it was just such a nice experience.
Cool. Okay. Okay. So we were talking about how basketball is the more popular sport here, but we do know that football is I wouldn't even say arguably. I think it's established that it's the most popular sport in the world.
Yeah.
Would you say that in the Philippines, it's been getting more attention, it's been getting more popular over the years?
Okay. With regards to the situation of football here in the Philippines, my answer is that it's stagnant. It has not grown, but it has not depleted either. The biggest growth that we've seen in Philippine football was when the Azkals beat Vietnam in Hanoi. It was 2010, I think, and we beat them to get into the semifinals of the Suzuki Cup, I believe. So that was the biggest explosion that football has ever experienced here in this country. And after that, all the games that we had, when Shiraki came in for the first time and he played against Mongolia, we played against all the other teams, all the other Asian teams here in the country. You'd see even the opposite end of the grandstand would be full of people. Like we'd have packed. After this talk, I'll send you a video of the past goals, and you'll see how packed Rizal Stadium is,
The
and
stadium, yeah.
it's a big stadium, and it packed like the entire grandstand was packed. The bleachers were packed all around, and it was such a great atmosphere to have. And that was the biggest part. That was the biggest peak of the highest peak, sorry, of Philippine football. And then after that, um, we started getting a lot of recruitment, and we started getting a lot of more focus because of that explosion that we did when we won and all that stuff. And that brought us to a higher level. If you notice, if I don't know if you can research this, but if you notice, our FIFA rankings have been increasing. We've been getting higher and higher, and I think we're at the highest that we could ever be at the moment. We are considered one of the best in Southeast Asia, or maybe not, or even the best in Southeast Asia at the moment, the highest ranking Southeast Asian country. And the thing, what I've noticed is the reason why it has become stagnant is because we are no longer set with the groups that we used to be in.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, because we're in such a higher ranking, we're going against people who we're basically like in the bottom tier of the higher division. While before we were in the highest tier of the lower division, which was making us win, giving us more attention, because we were actually winning. So wins translates to a lot of attention, and that's not the case where we are now. Because even if we say that we're achieving higher what do you call this? Like we're in a higher stage of football now. We're not winning, which is difficult for us to receive a lot more attention. So that's why I believe that we're in a stagnant situation. We haven't been relegated in the rankings, so you can't really say that we're in a lower situation at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think? I guess you're part of the Azkals development team. What do you think is needed? I guess, to reach that next level, or how do you say it? Like, what would you as a player think that your team needs? I guess to make the next step.
So this Azkals development team is actually the very first program that we have in the Philippines dedicated to the Azkals. Its sole purpose is to develop younger athletes, younger footballers, to get themselves ready for a professional career, and also to be competitive in the international stage playing in the Azkals. So what lacks, or sorry, to put the value of ADT in context, is that they're working around the culture that we have here in the Philippines, which is you need to graduate to get a degree to get a good job. You see a lot of European players who are skipping the whole college track and just going straight to pro. And in the Filipino culture, we can't really have that, because a lot of parents are against it. If you don't have a degree, you're not going to get a good job, especially in this economy in this country. So they're trying to bridge the gap between both. They're trying to they're trying to find the sweet spot between both. And ADT is that result. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get younger athletes to focus on the college career by getting the degree, but at the same time exposing these athletes to professional football, not college football. Because if like, for example, in Europe, if you're playing college football or university football in Europe, you are considered not good. It's kind of like embarrassing. Not really embarrassing, but if you say that you're playing university football, there's no prestige to it compared to when you say I'm a UAAP football player here in the Philippines. There's not it doesn't make the same impact to the Europeans, especially when you say that you're playing university football. Because if you're in college playing football, you're not as good. You're not good enough to be playing professionally. So that's the stigma that they have there. And what we're trying to do here is just to be able to allow these athletes to bypass the football career, their football career as a college player, but at the same time leaving space and leaving an opportunity for them to get that degree. And I
So
think
how? Sorry, go ahead.
all I'm just gonna say is that I know, and I think that um, we need more brave souls as football athletes to learn or to have enough motivation to believe in themselves, um, so that they can actually take that leap. Because a lot of people think that there's not a lot of future in football, especially here in the Philippines, and I'm not going to argue with that. But the thing is, um, with all the leagues that are coming up here, especially in Southeast Asia, there's a lot more opportunities for athletes, especially Filipino athletes, because of the ASEAN passport. It's a precious passport that we hold at the moment. ASEAN passport holders are one of the most valued football players, valued athletes in general. 30 has one. Japan got him. It's just
Yeah.
they're implementing the same rules, in the same FIBA rules, especially in Asian countries, to football, which is slots are opened or are reserved for ASEAN passport holders. So
Yeah.
it's just to increase the development of and exposure of ASEAN athletes. So that's what's creating, that's the opportunity that's open at the moment, and um, that's what the ADT is also looking at the moment. So a lot of the athletes just need to be more aware of that situation, that there is an opportunity to actually pursue football as a career after graduating.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to actually um wanted to understand the dynamic of the Azkals development team, because obviously
Yeah.
we know with Gilas, even
Mm-hmm.
like they've done it in the past with the youth where they don't enter the PBA draft.
Mm-hmm.
In the recent one, we saw like Isaac Go, the Nieto brothers, Alin
Yeah.
Bonamati, and Ray Suerte,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
got drafted, but they're gonna play for Gilas.
Yeah.
But with the development team, you're saying that they're going to be um, part of the development team, but in college. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So most of us in the team are working on degrees at the moment.
And but so what exactly is the development team going to be doing? Like obviously you're gonna have your own training as a team. Will you be
Yeah.
in the pro leagues here
Yes.
or
Yes. So
okay? So
we actually have professional contracts that we've signed to compete in the PFL, so the local league that we have
okay,
here. Aside from that, we will be having international competitions representing the Philippines, for caps, because we need caps to be able to play abroad. So I think there's a
okay,
requirement of like 3 international caps. So you have to play for the country at least 3 times, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to give us caps.
okay. Um, all right. So speaking of the Azkals, you played in the last Sea Games, right? But I think um, I don't think we've talked ever since. But it was a big deal that you were put at the defender position, right? Personally, I don't think I've ever seen you
Finally,
play the
defense.
the defend. No, I haven't seen you play defender. And I think you mentioned I saw one of the yung ang tita mong football vlogger, one of your
Yeah,
interviews.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
your first time, nga.
yeah.
So at the time, of course, this got a lot of feedback on social media. I'm not gonna say
A
which
whole
one of
lot.
our classmates mentioned it, but he was very he was really questioning the decision. You, but yeah. So others also though justified it. It shows how versatile you are. I guess how did you feel? I guess being put in that position, and is it something that I guess your coaches in the development team um explained to you should be ready to do again, or is it something maybe in the future that you're
Yeah,
you're ready or asked to do for the long term?
yeah. So, um, our coach in the Azkals development team is also the head coach of the Azkals, and was our coach during the Sea Games, and he has garnered a lot of achievements, and he has accumulated a lot of experience playing, coaching international teams and teams from Thailand and all those other countries that he's coached. So he comes with a lot of experience, and
Yeah.
I respected the fact that he needed me to play um, in the wing back, as a tactical decision that was needed, going against Cambodia. So um, a lot of people don't know this, but the scouting report on Cambodia is that they had fast wingers. So we needed wing backs to pacify the fast wingers, and um, I guess coach trusted me enough to put me in that situation. I was actually put there a day before the competition, and I took that as a challenge. I felt like, because especially there's a period wherein I was supposed to play for the Azkals, but I was put in reserve because they still saw that I had a lot more to work on, and Coach Scott was the first person who told me that I needed to work on my aggression, and that's what I've been working on prior to that SEA Games competition. And when he put me there, that was kind of like my opportunity to apply the aggressiveness that I had worked on in terms of defending. So that was really the mentality that I had coming into that competition, and I was very scared. I was super scared because I've never played wing back in my life, and I think the only time I've actually played as a defender was um, in training with Rupert and the men's football team. That's when we kind of just like joke around, being like, "Oh, let's play defender instead," and then we put the goalkeepers up on striker. So it would really just be for fun, and then suddenly to just like experience playing professional, serious football. Sorry, to experience playing serious football, wherein my my choices, the moves that I make could actually be can actually cost the team like a conceded goal or something like that. So it made me very nervous, but um, I was guided very well, especially during that last training session right before the game. Coach was actually like a player playing FIFA, so he was right beside me in the outside lane, and he was just literally saying everything that I had to do, and I just had to take everything in. I was just being the most observant, and I even studied movements and decision making of wingbacks the night before the game. So I was preparing myself mentally and preparing myself in every situation that was possible. Um, and he did say that he saw potential in me, so that was kind of like the point wherein I had to understand that maybe wing back is my position. So that's not it. It's basically it was not a temporarily position that I played. That's my position now. So I'm no longer a striker. I'm no longer a winger. Coach considers my role a winger / wing back. I'm at the back, but I have all the right to attack. He gives me all the right to attack, so I can attack whenever I want as long as I come back in defense. So that's fine with me. To me, it makes my job a little bit easier in such a way that when I receive the ball at the back, I'm not too pressured compared to when I'm in front. At the same time, I'm not expected to attack all the time. So whenever I do, it comes as a surprise at most of the time.
Yeah.
And I like doing long balls now. So whenever I get I always try pinging it across, and it's just fun to do. So especially like now, another thing that I want to share is that football is a constantly developing sport. So there's, especially now in this modern football that we're playing, you really have to be able to adapt. You really have to be a little bit more versatile in the way that you play, because you'll never know, especially when in football you can actually lose one player. A rule for those basketball fans, you can lose a player, and when you get suspended, you get a red card, you lose one player. So as a person playing inside the field, when you lose one player, you kind of have to absorb the position that's missing, and that's one way you can actually utilize a versatile player.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, obviously because you can't like sub in for red card.
Yeah,
I learned that in FIFA the first time I played it.
If you get a red card, you're down to 10 men. Unlike basketball, if someone gets sent out, you can put another guy in.
Yeah. Okay. Earlier you were mentioning about 30 and him going to Japan, for example. So there are a lot of news about up and coming athletes, fellow UAAP athletes, taking their talents abroad. We've seen basketball players, Kai Soto, for example, is the biggest name so far. But also football players, like I think it's Ian Clarino. I think he's playing in Australia. Yeah.
Yep.
So I was listening to one of the other interviews you had with Chris Greatwich.
Across the line,
But
yeah.
that I think that was like about 6 months ago. So 6 months is a pretty long time. So I actually
Uh-huh.
wanted to ask, what have your plans maybe changed? I know you talked about wanting to play abroad. Are there
Mm-hmm.
maybe any new offers or feelers that you might be considering right now?
Okay, so the main goal has always been the same, to play abroad, and that's always something I've dreamed of experiencing. So that has not changed in my decisions now. Um, Given the situation with the pandemic and all that, uh, I have already spoken to Coach Scott. So he kind of serves as an agent also, but
Okay.
he's just there to help us develop. So he's our coach who has connections with Thailand, and our plan together, mine and Coach Scott, is that I stay first in ADT and train. This is before the pandemic, okay? By 2020, I trained for 6 months till around June, and then come in for the transfer window in Thailand. But because of
Okay.
the COVID, everything was pushed back and all that stuff. So I found this like um, the bittersweet thing about this COVID is that I was able to work on my academics, because everything is held back, but we still have online classes. So
Yeah.
I've spoken to him about it, and my decision now is to finish my academics, because I have like 21 units left. Um,
Okay.
and then if I can finish that by end of by December, by 2021, I can actually leave already. So that's kind of what we decided on doing. Um, Given the few months that we have here, I'll prepare locally with the Azkals development team, and then by 2021, hopefully fly out to a different club already.
Okay. That's cool.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Okay. Um, okay. So this is like a bit of a segment part of the podcast. So
Okay.
it's
Okay.
called Sleepers. No, okay. It's taken from like draft sleepers, or like
Yeah.
usually it's in the NBA and the NFL. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
of like the unappreciated one. So
Okay.
I wanted to put this segment for the more, I guess, the more popular, or the sports that are given more attention. So football is, I wouldn't say it's not a popular sport. It gets a lot of attention. You can see it on TV, unlike other
Yeah.
sports. So I wanted to put this part for
Okay.
this part.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, so I guess just to get into it a bit, um since you know what a sleeper is, who, I guess, among your past teammates would you consider is someone who is a sleeper, or someone who doesn't get enough appreciation or is underrated, and then
Nino Herrera.
why?
Nino Herrera. He is a he's a player to deal with in the in terms of the middle segment of the field. Um,
Okay.
he just has the technicality to control the ball, especially when you need it. When there's a lot of pressure in the middle, you need someone as composed as Nino. Um, he has the scoring ability, and he's shown it here last season 82 in the few games that he had. He scored the most for the team, actually, with given the number of games that they were able to play. Um, he's just underappreciated. I really don't understand why he's underappreciated and why he's always overlooked, because he competed with um he competed with the Kaya B team, the men's team,
Okay.
and he was actually dominating in the midfield. He played with the Ateneo coming from an ACL injury, yet he would find himself in the starting position always, because he'd send the best balls to the wingers and to the strikers, and he'd always be so composed with handling the ball, especially when there was pressure. Nino's a fighter. He's aggressive when it comes to defense, and he has this certain swag and that certain confidence that every player needs, to a certain extent. That when he loses the ball, he's not one to back down from a mistake like that. So he'd always try to run after and chase the ball and get the ball. And he's a team player. He's a really good friend of mine. He's a really nice guy. I love him to death. And um, I just feel like he's super underappreciated because he can compete, and he's even better than a lot of players that I've played with and I've competed internationally with. And it's just sad not that he was never given an opportunity to represent the country, because I think he's one of the best midfielders, holding midfielders, that we actually have, especially in the youth level, especially in my age level. I remember there was
Yeah.
one time I played with the Kaya men's team. It was like an all-star game, and Nino was in the other team, and I was playing with my Tito in the opposing team. And Nino scored like a goal from way outside of the box, and it was just a beautiful goal that he scored. And he has been doing that. He's been consistent with his long shots, and he's been consistent with his set pieces. Another thing that he's deadly known for is his set pieces.
Okay.
Sleeper.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right. Okay, so actually, I wanted to give my take on what is the sleeper part of football.
Mhm.
So earlier, I think I remember in one of your old interviews, you mentioned that transition, or even earlier, you transitioned to the defender position in like a day or a night, because you said you were reviewing it overnight
Mhm.
when you were playing for the Azkals. But I think it's not as easy, I guess. I think it's easier to transition to one of the field players as opposed to like a goalkeeper, which is where I'm going with this point.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely, bro.
yeah, so because okay, not being a football player, my experience with football is mostly intrams, the
Uh,
games you play during recess and lunch.
yeah,
And if you notice, parang everyone wants to be a field player.
yeah,
At the end, you get like parang you get stuck with being the goalkeeper, or like everyone has to change every time someone gets a goal.
yeah.
Um, but at the same time, the goalkeepers are always the ones blamed when there's a goal that
Uh-huh.
gets passed. So I don't know if it's different for you, being varsity or being in the Azkals. Is it less likely for someone to want to be a goalkeeper in football?
Yes, I think yeah, yeah, it is. The way I see it, we all experience at one point being a goalkeeper, and there are just people who actually enjoy it or who love
Yeah,
the position. So um if it is like, for example, if you're a player who starts as a goalkeeper, if you're assigned to be a goalkeeper, and then you know that you're not gonna always be a goalkeeper. Like there's gonna be times, especially like, for example, training or in um like open plays, like just during like casual football, that you'll always like try to play other positions. So when you're a football player, when you're into football, you'll always like experience at one point of your football life, you're going to experience playing each position. And I think it's just those, especially if they start early, or if they find it in themselves that to enjoy being a keeper early, that they'll eventually just focus on it when they start playing seriously. Because like what you said, nga, na when we play, it's always a palit keeper, right? Like whoever
yeah,
scores. Like for example, if you're the one who scores, you become the keeper. So inevitably, there'll always be like one situation, or one scenario, or one experience of you playing as a keeper when you play football. So it's just really up to those who enjoy playing as a keeper eventually turn into goalkeepers.
okay. With that, I guess it's not really not the most popular position. I guess that's why I deem it as like the sleeper part of football.
Yeah,
But it's still. I mean, I'm sure you would agree that it's still a very very important position. So,
super
I guess
important.
how important for you is the position. Maybe I guess share with the listeners, why you think it should get just as much fanfare, or it should be just maybe not just as sought after, but like it should definitely be considered by a lot of incoming young football players.
Okay, so uh, in this country, um, the fame goes to whoever scores,
Yeah,
because we
agree.
lack the education to teach people about football. So whoever scores becomes the famous one. And there are three important roles that I believe deserve just as much fame as the one who scores. The one who passes the ball to the one who scores, the one who creates the opportunity, that this guy, this basically the one who gets the assist. The guy who makes the assist deserves just as much credit as the guy who scores. Definitely the guy who scores, because scoring is not a joke either. And the guy who makes sure that nobody scores against the team. Because what's a goal if you're down by 3, right? So those are
True.
the 3 positions that I believe, or those are 3 situations, or the 3 people that I believe deserve just as much fame as the person who scores. I'm not I'm not saying the defenders or the midfielders who are not part of the team, who aren't part of the play, don't deserve as much. The entire team gets the win. The entire team gets the goal. The entire team deserves the fame. What I'm just saying is, what fans should always look at, especially when a goal is scored, is that the guy who made the assist deserves just as much credit as the guy who scores, and the guy who keeps the ball out of the goal deserves just as much credit as the guy who scores it. Um, this is why I have such a um, I have such a beautiful relationship with my keeper, AJ, when I was in college, because it would always be him and I talking in the field, especially when someone scores against us, or when we score a goal. For example, if someone scores against us, um, I'd always look to him and I'll just be like, "We will get this one. I got your back. You got mine." Or when I score a goal, it's the same thing. It's always just like, um, I'm gonna try to keep scoring more goals. Don't let anything in. And then when someone actually scores, it's always just like, babawi tayo, kaya natin to. So um there was a post AJ had also, or I think there's an interview that he had, and he also expressed how different our relationship is. When LaSalle scored against us in the
Yeah.
finals, AJ and I were looking at each other. We were the only ones looking at each other. When we won in FU and AJ kept a clean sheet, we were the ones who celebrated together. He was the one who went up. He was the one who went up to me, and I was the one who went straight to him also. And we were just celebrating because we did our jobs very well. He did his job keeping the goal out, and I did my job very well. And there are times also wherein I fuck up with my job of scoring, where I don't get to score the game, but we still end up winning because other players of the team step up and score the goal. At the same time, AJ keeps the goal keeps the opponent goalless. So it's a very big dynamic to have when your goalkeeper is just as confident in himself just as confident in himself as the striker, and a clean sheet deserves so much more credit than um, a win with a goal, because it's harder to keep balls out than to score. Honestly, I can say that it's harder to be a goalkeeper than to be a striker.
You joked around it with me before. I remember, like,
You're my
I think you
goalkeeper,
called.
bro.
No,
I
not
made you my
that.
goalkeeper. You're my goalkeeper, bro.
I meant you called dibs. You called dibs before. I think it was high school, pa. You called dibs on if the keeper gets a red card, you get to keep. Is
Yeah,
that right?
dude.
I think.
I still say
Have
that,
you ever tried it?
dude. I still say that to Coach JP. I used to say that to Coach JP in the UAP. I told it to the team, also to the UAP team. I was like, dude, if one of these keepers gets injured or red card, I'm coming in as a keeper. Yeah,
Have you tried? I mean, have you actually tried keeping? Like, practiced it? Are you actually confident? Like, if that actually happens, would you be like, "Ah, I got this?
yeah, I think so. Pro,
Okay.
no. College football, maybe, but pro, no. I'd not take that up. But yeah,
Okay.
or if like there's a moment of silence wherein, so for example, our we only have one goalkeeper and he gets a red card, and like there's a
Yeah.
moment of silence where nobody wants to step up, you'll definitely expect me to be like, got it.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're almost done. Let's see. Okay, this is another thing I wanted to know. I wanted to ask about. So this is called changing court and changing sport, or change court, change sport. So, um, okay, so we were classmates for 3 years. So I know that you dabbled in, like, basketball. I remember. I think the first time I saw you was, yun nga, when I was first year na. Then I saw you in drums basket. We weren't against each other, but then I saw you. I was like, who the hell is this guy playing basket? He had like 5 straight steals and fast break layups. I was like, huh? And then someone told me you're a football player. I was like, what the fuck? Anyways, so okay. So I know that you dabbled in sports like basketball, and you even competed in track and field, right? You were
Yes, sir.
MVP. So, I guess what was there ever a time when you had to choose between football and another sport, or were I think you mentioned a bit earlier, but you were loyal to football all the way, or
Yeah. There's a time where I was contemplating between basketball and football. Um, Grade school, I received scholarships from LaSalle and Ateneo to
okay,
study there in high school, and um, I'm not gonna say which school, but was supposed to be for basketball and football.
wow, okay.
Yeah, and then
I mean, considering you went to one of them, I would assume it's the other one, but whatever.
but
I'm
here's
gonna
the
say
thing.
it.
But here's the thing. But here's the thing. So I moved to Ateneo High School, and I was talking to my dad, and um, dad at that time, Sir Ricky Palou was the sports
Yeah.
director of Ateneo, and um, I was talking to dad, and we were having this conversation about basketball and football, and then dad was just like, "Stick with football, Harvey." Sir Ricky Palou said we need more football players, so
Okay.
I stayed in football.
I mean, I guess it worked out.
Yeah, it did work out. It did work out. I think Sir Ricky Palou's decision was actually a really good one because I think there was at one point that I was able to help out with the men's football team be champions again, and we were the same at the same year. Basketball was also champion, so it was kind of like
Yeah.
a beautiful decision that he made for the Ateneo community.
Okay. Okay. If is there any sport that I guess that you want to try, like even if it's like that's now
Yeah, dude.
leisurely or like when you
Super
retire?
tennis, bro.
Tennis.
Yeah,
Why?
dude. I don't know. I've never tried it before.
Okay.
I really want to try tennis, man.
Okay. Okay. Last one. Okay. With that, in the Philippines, who would you say is your favorite athlete, but from a different sport?
Wow. Favorite athlete from a different sport. Because I have a lot of friends who play different sports. So
Yeah. I mean, it
is
could
it
be that, or like if you're a
it'd be
fan or whatever.
it'd be unfair to like if they were my friends, right?
You could okay. Let's pick one from your friends, or okay, maybe that's not gonna look good for you.
No,
Okay.
no, no. Let's make it just any professional player that I do not know personally.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, Jeff Chan, bro, basketball. Jeff Chan,
Jeff
idol.
Chan.
Yeah,
Why?
dude. Oh, dude, I don't know, man. He's a sniper, bro. I've always
And he's
admired
a
his streak.
lefty like you.
Yeah, bro. Oh my God. Sobrang idol, especially that game against France in the MOA Arena.
Yeah.
Gilas versus
Yeah.
France, bro. Holy shit, dude. Jeff Chan was just amazing. Every time there's a Gilas game, as long as Jeff Chan's there, I'm watching it, bro.
Wow. Okay, that's
Yeah, dude.
interesting.
He's my idol sa Gilas roster.
Before he's not there anymore. He's
Yeah, I
what
know, but like,
happened? He's got traded to Ginebra, I think, recently.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Also in the
I didn't
World
know
Cup.
that.
Also in the World Cup, Jeff Chan, bro.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Okay, I guess a little bit before we end, just first, I think let's say to those that are interested in trying out football,
Yeah.
especially whether they're adults or they're young kids, I guess.
Yeah.
How would you, I guess, recommend they start? What should they do? Both like if we get back to normal, or like even now in quarantine, what can they do?
Yeah. So like if because we're in quarantine now, they can start by trying to appreciate the game. There's nothing much you can really do if you're starting in football and you're based at home. So you can always watch games, see how it excites everyone. just try to visually take in everything, especially in football. There are a lot of players that can help inspire a lot of athletes, a lot of football players to start, especially when we're looking at goals and we're looking at um, intriguing moments like last minute goals um,
Yeah.
or like surprise goals or long shot goals or like those unheard of or godly goals that happen.
Mm.
So there are a lot of things that can keep you interested in football. There's some games like there's a penalty which is supposed to be technically like a 90% sure goal, and it's 2-2 by both teams, and that person who kicks misses, and then at the opposite end they start scoring and they win.
Yeah.
There are moments like that that happens. There's the Premier League championship of Man City, where Man U was supposed to win, but Aguero scored a last minute goal or last second goal, which put them like 1 or 2 points ahead of Man U, and they won the Premier League. There are a lot more games like that that are super interesting, and that makes football what it is,
Yeah.
and how it's such a beautiful sport. So that's one way. And post pandemic, if there's anyone who wants to try football, I think you should start by doing with people that you enjoy being with, you enjoy playing with. I don't suggest you start seriously at the moment, because I think you first need to develop interest and passion for the sport. If you're thinking about starting seriously at the get go, like at the very beginning, it's gonna be hard for you to actually surpass all the difficulties and all the struggles and all um, the the failures or the injuries that you're inevitably gonna experience in football. So just start by trying to enjoy it by playing around, playing with friends, going to open plays, finding opportunity to go against people who are also beginners, because it sucks when you're playing with really good people. I've experienced it before. You can't really do much, so it's better to just play first with like a lot of beginners, and getting a feel of the game, just being able to laugh about everything, getting to talk to a lot of people and getting to know a lot more people, and create a community for you first, and that's going to be your support system when you start to develop and when you start to take it seriously.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess, just before we end, do you have any message to the football fans, aspiring football players, and I guess general Philippine sports
Yeah.
supporters?
um my last message would probably just be like, don't give up on the sport, especially in this country. Just don't give up on the sport. You have a lot of athletes who are dedicating themselves to get as much experience abroad, to bring back to the Philippines, so that we can actually put the Philippines back in the map and experience glory days like we did before. um I don't know. There's nothing much to say about it. Continue supporting. We still have a local league, and the college league is actually doing football a huge amount of justice when it comes to appreciation, because we have a lot of avenues for a lot of people to watch football. Sad that we lost ABS-CBN, but
Yeah.
there will be a lot more opportunities for people to go and watch, because we cannot watch it live now. Oh, we can't watch it on TV now. It's a lot more opportunity for you guys to come to see the game live and to experience
Mm.
the atmosphere of watching a football game, which is crazy and beautiful, especially if you watch games like our finals against LaSalle season 81. That was a beautiful match. If anybody watched that game, I'm pretty sure you've fallen in love with the sport. So all I'm asking is to give it a shot. Give it a little bit of your time, give it a little bit of your attention, and make sure to support, especially those athletes that are having a hard time here during the pandemic and cannot get the financial support that they can get. I'm not saying donate money, but um, your support, your attention is basically enough to um, give opportunities of a lot of the brands to come in and a lot of the media to come in to give these athletes like the perfect setup for a better financially stable situation.
All right. Okay, so once again, that was Jarvey Gayoso. Thank you so much for coming on being
Dude,
actually
thanks for having me, bro.
the first guest for this.
I am touched, bro.
No, man, I'm touched. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you also to all of those who tuned in. If you have any requests or suggestions for what other sports you'd like to hear and learn about, who else you'd like to see on the show, please do let us know in the comments. Please also don't forget to like and subscribe. We are Sports Season on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify, and you can also follow us at Sports Season Pod on Instagram. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next episode right here on Sports Season.